Okay, everyone, and welcome to yet another Nova Scribes. It's great to have you all tonight. We are really excited to welcome Sheri Kennedy. Sheri is an artist, educator, and recovering graphic designer turned creativity alchemist. She founded her business Fusionary Thinking in 1999 to combine her love of painting, her understanding of business challenges, and her passion for health and wellness. Sheri designs and facilitates experiential, goal-based workshops and painting events for teams and groups using tools from art, mindfulness, and business innovation. In 2020, Sheri started her new company, Applied Visual Thinking, which she'll tell us more about, with fellow practitioner Debbie DeLue, inspired by the idea of making visual thinking fast, easy, and fun for anyone, regardless of their art background or role in their organization. Sheri has a BFA in graphic design from the University of Connecticut, a master's of education in art education from the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and recently has done some coursework at Lesley University. And tonight, she is going to be taking us through visual energizers, how to create engagement without the groan. Without further ado, Sheri, can I turn it over to you?
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for that lovely welcome and welcome to everybody tonight. And before I say anything more about me, I want to actually do an energizer. I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling a little stiff and like, oh my God, I have to sit in a chair again. So I'm going to invite you, if you want, to stand up for this. If you need to be in your chair because otherwise your, headphones will fly off or whatever, that's fine too. But you might need to be able to move even if it's just in your chair. So pretend you're a cat and you are in the backyard and you are creeping through the yard. Give me your stealth cat move. You can be a little, you can decide what kind of cat you are. Are you a wild cat? Are you a dainty cat? Whatever you want to be, just, move your way through the grass. Maybe it's tall grass, maybe it's short grass, moving a little bit. Oh my God, it's a coyote. Freeze. Oh no, it's just a fake. Okay, we're all good. Shake it off. Shake it off. All right, there's our quick warm up. How's that for quick? Find your way back to your seat. Hopefully nothing fell off the table while you were shaking around. That is one of my favorite warm-ups to do for any group, any age, any size. And there's some neuroscience behind that one. The shaking move, it works for animals. They do actually shake off the fear. And how many times have we, as workers in whatever context, run into fight or flight when the phone rings, when the email comes in? Oh my God, I forgot to do that. It's the same reaction. You guys probably know this already, that the basic core stress that we deal with all the time is that same fight or flight mechanism that is when the cat sees the coyote. And in most animals' instinctive reaction is to freeze and then, or either freeze or run. And then once they realize the threat is gone, they will literally shake it off. So shaking in some way, shape, or form is actually helpful for human bodies too. So there's my there's my visceral introduction to what we're going to do tonight. And pardon me if I'm looking over at my notes. I'm going to try to stick to my script a little bit so that I don't go too far off topic and run out of time to do the fun stuff. So my getting back to the intro really quick, that was a whole lot of stuff, but important to know, I do graphic recording and facilitation under the guise of fusionary thinking. The online courses that my buddy Debbie and I developed under applied visual thinking are the basic tools, hands-on tools for applying the drawing, the visual thinking to whatever kind of work you do. And at the end of this, there'll be a coupon code, or somewhere along the line, there's a coupon code if you're interested in checking out those courses for yourself or for friends. We have given Nova Scribes a proprietary coupon code. So we're offering 25% off everything you buy. And we're based on Napkin Academy And so that applies to all of our applied visual thinking courses. And we will also give 25% to the, what's it called? The IFVP Foundation. So the nonprofit type kind of arm of the International Forum for Visual Practitioners. So that's the logistics piece. Oh, and lastly, if you are interested in having a regular forum to tap into your own creative flow, whatever medium or media that entails, every Friday morning, almost every Friday morning, I offer something called Friday Flow. That is a online gathering for creatives. And I do a little warm up, kind of like we just did. We all work in our own space, and I put on some music that you can either have on or off, depending on whether it's your style. And then we do a quick check-in at noon. So it's like 10 to noon Eastern time every Friday. So reach out to me if you want to get on that email list, and love to have you. Okay. So I'd love to know, that's about me. I'd love to know a little bit about who's in the room. And I'm going to ask a few questions, and let me get my questions in front of me. If you want to answer this based on what you currently do, fine. If it's what you're aspiring to do, also fine. Say yes, we'll bring it into fruition. And if you answer yes to multiple things, that is also totally cool. And methods for saying yes, you can put a hand up if you have your picture on. You can come off mute and respond verbally if that works for you, or use one of those fancy Zoom tools. Your choice. Awesome. So curious, how many of you are currently or planning to be visual practitioners? So using the visuals in your work in some way. Okay. Bunch of hands and some maybes. Perfect. How about, are any of you facilitators, trainers? Have you led, are you planning to lead workshops of some type or another? Like the collapse. All right, awesome. And who is a manager or team leader, or some way, shape, or form? You have a group that you work with that you're already sort of doing stuff with. It could be in work, out of work, volunteer. You have a group that you're periodically swaying. Okay, awesome. A few of those. And who are my individual contributors? Solopreneurs. So again, you can answer yes to any of these. That's like, I'm a team member, I work under somebody or with somebody, I work on my own. Okay, awesome. Is there any sort of big role that I missed? No? Okay, kind of got it covered. Awesome, thank you. Fantastic. Okay, how about, Brian, can we put the slides up at this point? Again, these are not the most exciting slides, but again, they will keep me on track and give you the visual sense of where we're headed with this too. All right, let's do next slide. So what are we talking about? What exactly do we mean by energizers? These are sort of my top tier criteria. They got to be quick. If you've got a bunch of high paid heads in the room in particular, they do not want to spend a whole lot of time on something that they haven't, if they don't know what the point is, or what's, where does this fall in the agenda. It should be an appetizer, not the main course. So I like to say, try to keep your energizers to 10 minutes or less. They should be energy lifting. And that is going to vary from group to group. What is this particular group going to enjoy? Are they, are they a kind of a buttoned up, nervous group? Are they wild and crazy? Do they really know each other? They're already comfortable with each other, or are they maybe new to each other? So maybe don't have that comfort level established yet. You want to find the right energy level so that it's going to meet people where they are and then lift them up a notch from there. Energizers need to be inclusive and adaptable. Always want to have a backup plan. I'm going to probably end up saying that again, because sometimes you get in the room and you're like, oh, great, I had this phenomenal energizer that was all visuals, and I have 3 blind people in the room. Okay, we're going to shift. You really have to have something for all cases. So see if you can find out. I mean, sometimes you don't have the luxury of finding out who's going to be in the crowd, but if you do, find out if there are any physical limitations, language barriers, cognitive differences that you need to be aware of. If you have a younger group, yes, or if you have a few people online, thank you for that. Definitely, the big differences between in-person versus online. Is this a group that you can do and would be interested in physical kinds of activities or more cerebral? That's kind of a top tier thing you want to suss out. And the format of your materials may come into play depending on your group too. If you have a really young group, maybe you don't want to use sharp scissors. Things to think about ahead of time. And this should be an easy win. So energizers should be quick, should be fun. It should give people an opportunity for a success. And I'll say more about that in a minute. But ideally, you want your participants to feel like, oh, this was a little treat. You may have some heavy stuff on the agenda, some challenging stuff on the agenda. This should be like the little sweet or the dessert or the mint that they get to, in between to kind of perk them up. And it should be on point. I should have made this like the biggest font on the page. Your energizer that you choose, it could be really fun and cool and interesting, but if it has nothing to do with the agenda and people don't see any sort of connection, it may be a stretch to keep them with you. Yes, thank you, Brian. Definitely on point. What is the point? You need to make sure you have a point and something that you're leading them to, some kind of conclusion, even if it's just a loose conclusion. Have one in mind that connects to the agenda. All right, next page. What is an energizer not? These are some of the nopes. It should not feel like a waste of agenda time. If it's dragging on, cut it. Cut your losses. Or if it seemed like a good idea, but you get in the space and everybody's crammed in, and that energizer that you had in mind where people have to move around the room is going to take forever, skip it. Do something different or modify it. It should not be energy sucking. Do not if you walk into a group that has never met each other before, do not ask them to do a human knot, which means everybody's standing close together and crossing arms and trying to untwist and untangle themselves. If you have a group that's not so good at being close together, or you have immune compromised people walking in with masks, don't make them do that. There's a whole lot of knots, but that's one example. And it should not become a way to create in groups and out groups, or embarrass people or make them feel incompetent. And one of my favorite examples for this was I went to it was actually a party, and the organizer thought, oh, wouldn't it be fun to have everybody get a name tag put on their back that you had one on your front. She had friends like from all different areas, so a lot of us didn't know each other. So you could have a name tag with your actual name, but then you got a name tag given to you on your back when you walked in that was some famous person. And you had to talk to other people in the room. They would look at your name tag and not tell you who it was, and you got to ask questions and figure out who you were. And I've seen this done before. It could work in certain groups, but the names that were chosen, in this case were a lot of times actors and actresses, sports players, all the like comedians. I mean, people that you had to be in the know to get these names. I didn't even know who half the name tags were that I was looking at on other people's backs. So I had no idea how to give them clues. And I immediately felt like, oh, I must be really out of touch because I don't know any of these. So don't do that to people. And at this point, I would love to hear, I already see some in the chat. What are some other knots or some energizers that failed? I bet you can all think of some examples. So let's go ahead and you can come off mute for a second if you want, or throw it in the chat.
I got one, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Can we just purge 2 truths and a lie, please? Like never use that one again.
Yes. Tell us why, because I remember you mentioning that, and I love your perspective on that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think one of the really great benefits of any energizer is that it gets people into the experience, right? It's sort of like it's an entree into whatever you're going to do, and it does a little bit of psychological priming. It gets them into the right mindset of whatever's going to come next. And the problem with 2 truths or a lie and a lie is that you are priming people to lie and be lied to, right? It's like you're working mistrust into the meeting. So yeah, yeah, let's not do that one anymore.
Right there with you. Anybody else have an example of one that's a fail?
I'll just throw out one that was pointed out to me recently. The Energizer, when you have each person go one at a time, really just like sucks the energy out, because all of a sudden like someone's on the spot and everyone else is kind of stopping and looking and watching them.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. That can be a tough one. A lot of people do not like the spotlight. Any others top of mind? All right. Let's keep going to the positives, and if any others come to mind later, we can come back to it. Perfect. Okay, awesome. Let's go on to the next slide. Okay, so when do we do energizers? When is a good time to do an energizer? It can be like I just demonstrated before the official start. So if you're in a room or in a whether it's Zoom room or in person, it can be as people are arriving. You can have like a question prompt or a little mini activity. Hey, grab a piece of paper and do a doodle that has to do with boom, the theme for the day. We're going to share them once we get started. You can do something before the start or at the beginning of the agenda. So sometimes when I've done these things, I've been the facilitator. Sometimes I've been the assistant to the facilitator or the graphic facilitator coming in at certain points. And I love that role because the facilitators doing the heavy lifting parts of the agenda, and I get to do be the special guest. I'm going to be drawing and doing graphic facilitation, but for a second, I'm going to step out of my role and facilitate this one little section. I love that. And it can be like a break for the facilitator that you're working with, and a kind of a break in the visual and the physical energy of the group to see someone else stand up there and lead something. You bring a different energy to the room. So the point of that, if you're at the beginning of the day, you're wanting to set the tone for the day's topic. So really important picking something that can relate to the day. If you know that the day is going to be it's going to be a strategic planning session and there's some really tough stuff coming ahead, you want to kind of factor that into which energizer you're choosing. If it's going to be a brainstorming, then maybe you can do something a little more creative. But I always like to start with something that lets people tune into themselves, because we're like that, we think about ourselves first. So, and it makes sense, you're coming in from wherever, and you've experienced whatever you have before you come into the room. Give your participants a chance to shake off whatever it is they walked into that room with, and slowly approach the group mindset, the group activity. So other opportunities for those energizers are mini breaks. When the energy starts to wane, if particularly when I've been in training sessions where there's really complex information and people are working really hard to follow and understand, at some point mid-morning, they're going to be like, oh, I can't take anymore. That's a really great time for a quick energizer. And same thing mid-afternoon, 3 o'clock, when you're getting the 3 o'clock slump, great time for an energizer. Then you might want to do something more physical or light and fun, as opposed to the heavy thinking pre and post lunch. You don't want to expect people to put a lot of sentences together right before they go to lunch, but maybe you want to do something that helps them digest what they've just taken in the morning, and create some sort of visual synopsis for themselves. So, and we'll get into more specific type of energizers. I just wanted to kind of give the lay of the land first, and then at the end we'll do some actual examples. Soon we'll do some actual ones. And end of the day, so end of the day recap. You can sort of do a mini recap in the before lunch, and then end of the day, I love to give people a couple different media to translate their ideas into, because there's also some research around this. The real learning and locking into memory happens when you translate ideas from one medium to another. Now, what do I mean by medium? It can be you've heard some information, you've jotted it down in your notes, and then you've told someone. That's 3 media right there. And by the time you've gotten to the point of telling someone, you're going to remember that a lot better than if you just heard it and then you go home and you're trying to recall it. Okay. So that can also be hearing information, taking bullet point notes, and then doing a sketch that gets at the feeling that you get from that thing that you're talking about. Okay. It can be a diagram. It can be a group kind of activity where you've just had a conversation, and okay, now the group, your group together, come up with an animal that represents your perspective on this challenge or this issue right now, and explain why. It doesn't have to look a whole lot like that animal. Give it your best shot, label it, and explain what is it about that animal that has to do with your perspective on this change to the corporate structure. For example, is it going to be fast and nimble? Is it going to be slow and thoughtful? Let the group be creative. So that sort of end of day recap can be pretty good as an energizer. Awesome. Looking at the notes in the chat. Excellent. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. This is really the last of the slide bits. So this is, you're probably not going to be able to read all this. These slides will be available afterward if you want this. I was sort of trying to categorize or break down energizers into buckets. and these are kind of the ones that come to my mind. These are not perfect, and there's going to be a lot that cross over, but essentially to get you thinking about, if you're coming up with an energizer, here are some ways. Oh, thank you. Brian's putting it in the chat. Here are some ways to think about your energizers. One is getting to know each other. This is often, at the beginning, the description, or what is this all about? It's a welcome, easing people into connecting, organically, or at least organically, because you're creating an opportunity for them to get to know each other. When are you going to use this? Start of the session, or if people have never met before. There's the body centered kind of energizer. So this is often physical. So by visual energizers, I'm not just talking about drawing. I'm talking about anything where there is a visual component. I'm kind of expanding that out a little bit. So body exercises engage the body, or breath as the primary focus. A lot of times just doing a simple breathing exercise is enough to get people kind of recentered. And when to use this, if the energy is low, if the stress is high, or if you're kind of returning to focus. Sometimes just doing that simple body exercise can get people back in the game. Mind exercises, these use art, creativity, or some kind of unusual materials to engage with a key topic. So what I mean by mind-based energizers is if you want to get people to open their mindset, to get out of their own box, to start thinking in new ways, to be open to other possibilities. This is, well, you'll see examples in a second. But engaging, these are kind of the cognitive ones that I was talking about. And then creativity is really art-based. This is where I'm talking about using drawing, using creative materials, art. It's all, mind and creativity, again, they kind of overlap. But what I mean by creativity is if you're looking specifically for innovation, for new thinking about a particular challenge or topic, to kind of blow that out. And problem solving has a solution or many solutions. So it may require teamwork, and a good time to use this is when you need to build appreciation for these different ways of thinking. So if you've got people who are very good at doing things on their own, but you want them to work together as a team, then maybe you want to look to problem solving kinds of energizers. And okay, with that, I'm going to say, let's take off the slides and do some. Let's play, shall we? Okay, does everybody have a piece of paper or multiple pieces of paper with you and something to draw or write with? Can be a pen, pencil, and ideally you want paper that is that you can take out of a notebook or is already out of a notebook. Doesn't have to be fancy paper. Okay, everybody's pretty much ready there. Okay, first, so I'm gonna do kind of one from each category, and then try for that, and then we'll see where we are. So here's one. Pretend we all just got into a room and you have a name tag in front of you. What your first piece of paper or part of it's going to be your name tag. Put down the first letter of your first name. Just put it down, however, first letter of your first name, and leave room for the rest of your name after it. Okay, now turn that letter into an animal. And there is a bonus point if you can create some kind of alliteration. Like I will tell you already, I am Sheri Snake. I guess it could be SH, but I'm just going for the S there. Doesn't have to be fancy. And then write the rest of your name after that. However you want. I can tell this is a creative group because it took more than like 10 seconds. So when you're done, go ahead and put it up and we'll share our names. Ooh, Brian Butterfly. I'm gonna let you guys just share your own. How about that? Let's go round robin if we can.
Brian Butterfly.
Karen Calf.
Nice.
Julie Jackrabbit.
Mary Jo Mouse.
Oh,
Caroline Cat.
Starling Butterfly to be in the butterfly there.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you. Awesome. So that's a fun way to if you're terrible with names like I am, it's a fun way to remember people's names because you may not come up with their name right off the bat, but you might remember that first letter and oh yeah, that was the really cool butterfly, and then piece together the rest of the name. If you want to take that a step further in a group, you can challenge people to come up with a characteristic that that relates to I'm Sheri Snake because, and I don't even have a way to fill that in right now, so we're not going to go there. But that's something that you can do with a group if you want to take it a little step further. Another one that I've heard of that I'm just going to mention because I really love this idea. I have not done this, but I totally would in the right group. It goes, I'm like because. So you pair up your participants with someone with a partner, or you can do a group of three, and then they each introduce each other to the whole group, and they fill in the sentence. This is after getting a chance to talk and figure out what they're going to say. And so you're saying that I'm like. So if I'm paired with Brian, I'm saying I'm like Brian because, and then I share some connection that we have found in what way are we similar? And it can be something silly, it can be something basic, it can be something as basic as I'm like Brian because we were both babies once. You can always find a similarity with somebody, and it's I learned this as a empathy building exercise, and I think that's something that we all need more of. So I share that one.
This is one for when the attendees are getting to like know each other. This is an intro kind of thing.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
thank you.
exactly. Yes, this is getting to know each other. Intro, beginning of the whatever, when you need people to start sort of breaking that ice of having a conversation, and it's always easier to have some kind of structure behind that. Another one, yes, thank you. Good from a brain science standpoint, similarities soothe the amygdala. Love it. So last one I'm going to offer in the get to know each other category is, and again, we're not going to do this one now. It could take a little more than 10 minutes depending on how long you're, on how you do it. But imagine a bingo card. You can have 9 squares in it, is sort of simplest. And then you can, well, the way that I heard this is try to go around and meet people, and every time you meet someone, you put their name in one of your squares. And your goal is to fill those 9 squares as quick as possible. So you're not getting into in-depth conversation. You are not allowed to trap somebody forever because you all have a time limit to fill those 9 squares and you have to meet 9 people. Then it's a bingo game. So all of the names of all the participants are in a hat or whatever, and somebody's drawing a name and calling it out. And if you have that name on your card, you mark it off. And if you get 3 in a row, you've got bingo. So that's one way to do it. I've also seen this where there are certain questions that there's a question in each of those 9 squares, and you have to find someone whose name answers that question. So it can be find someone who was born in a different state than you were, for example. So you got to make it easy enough questions that they'll be able to find someone to fill in that square, and it can't be the same person in 2 squares. It can be find someone who likes dogs, find someone who, who can't stand dogs, whatever it is. It's a little tricky and it takes some prep to create those questions, but that is another way to go a little deeper to getting people to know each other. So that might be a good get to know each other for the beginning of a longer retreat where you've got people who haven't been together before yet. Okay, so body, let's go on to category 2 because I'm taking too long talking here. Okay, we did the move like a cat and freeze and shake. That's one. Another one. Okay, here's another really good quick one. Put your hands together, palms together like this. I would normally call it prayer pose, but this is not what we're doing. This is a really good one if people are kind of wild energy and you need them to calm down and focus. So putting your hands together and then one by one, this is a little bit challenging. You can put your hands down if it's more comfortable. I don't need to see them. I'm just holding mine up so that you can see what I'm doing. So you're going to count. You can count to yourself, or in a group, you could have people count together. And with each count, you're going to separate a finger. Okay, so pinky is 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, and then keep going and put them together. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So just having people breathe and do that. Let's do it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And a deep breath in and a deep breath out. You can do that deep breath in and out before and after doing that. And it just calms everything down. It gets people an opportunity to get centered again. So if there's conflict going on, if the energy is kind of wild, if people are just arriving from lunch, that's a good way to kind of bring the energy close. Anybody else have a favorite body-centered energizer that comes to mind? Not? Okay, we can keep going.
Oh
I
wait,
will also-
actually,
Yeah, go ahead.
I haven't done this one with a group per se. One thing that comes to mind,
Mhm.
because I'm also a yoga instructor, it's called alternative nostril breathing. So like you use both your fingers, put one hand, you breathe in through one for like 3 counts, you hold for 3 counts, and you release out the other. And it helps to calm the breath. I haven't done it with like a corporate group, but it's alternative nostril breathing, and it's helpful for like centering. It's because you release and your breath goes back to pace.
Yes, awesome. I love that. I love that. Thank you. And yoga is a fantastic source for breath work and breathing exercises and physical exercises. Thank you, Bren. Yes, exhale. There it is. There it is. Yeah, I steal from yoga all the time. And you don't have to be a yoga instructor to lead one of those. And honestly, you can YouTube all kinds of exercises too. Another one I like to do, you can see where time is getting a little bit short, but another one that's a great one and also has a lot of science behind it is anything that crosses the midline. So just standing up and marching in place and having knees and arms, you don't want, it's not a step class or something. You don't want people to hurt themselves, but but just marching in place and crossing the midline gets the 2 sides of the brain activated. So so that's a good one too. Okay, so mind. Okay, there's a couple more fun ones I want to make sure we get to. Okay. Actually, I'm just going to mention this one and then we'll go on to the creativity. So one that I've done in a group quite a bit is that you can use art materials is to have people, actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and do it. Get out your piece of paper, or you can use the one that you have your name on. Just find a different spot on it. And when you hear the word energy, just feel into that word for a second. What does energy feel like in your body? And then have your drawing implement in your hand. Don't think, draw a shape. Quick. Okay. Draw that shape again, or something-ish, kind of like that, in some way. You can outline it, you can repeat it. Draw that again and think energy, and draw it again and think energy. And keep drawing it and think energy until you've filled whatever space you've allotted. Okay, and then look back at what you've drawn and see if there's anything you notice. What stands out to you? Go ahead and shout it out if you have something.
I have
Does
4 lightning bolts on my piece of paper.
You have 4 lightning bolts on your piece of paper. Awesome. That's energy, all right. Yes. And it can be energy related, or it can be, oh my gosh, I just drew something else that's,
Mine are
Anybody
all
else have-
radiating out from a central point.
Interesting. Great. Awesome. Awesome.
I have a lot of squiggles.
A lot of squiggles. Mine too. Total mayhem madness. So with a group, you can have people notice what they notice and then tie it back to the theme for the day. What do you if we were in a room, we might put these up and say, okay, now what do you notice between drawings? Are there similarities? Are there differences? Did you relate to what somebody else said? Would you want to add to, does that shine a different light on what you did, hearing how this other person saw what they did? How does it expand your thinking at all?
Mhm.
I hope that helps a little bit. Another one, when it comes to art materials, one that I love, if you're dealing with change in any way, whether it's personal change, corporate change, there's the oil and water principle. If you have oil pastels that are like wax crayons, kind of, they're a little juicier color than regular crayons, but they still have that oily texture. And then you use watercolors on top of it. The watercolor will not stick to where the oil pastel is. The oil pastel resists. So I love having people think about, what is it that you want to carry forward? What do you want to stick, to stay? What's something you value? Make a shape or an icon or something that represents that thing in your oil pastel. And then what would you like to change or shift, and represent that some way using the watercolor? And it's amazing how deeply that gets at the ideas for people when you give them 10 minutes to do that kind of activity. So that's a favorite one around the mind. Okay, a creativity one. So getting the creative juices flowing. There's a bunch of group drawing activities that I like. Here's one. Well, one of them, here, we won't do this one, but I'll show you. One of them is you can have a scribble that you put on the screen and tell everybody, okay, copy this scribble down and then turn it into something. That's a way to do it online. If you're doing that in person, you have people paired up. One person does a scribble, the other person turns it into something, and then they switch. Group drawing, that's something I used to do with my kids all the time to keep them busy, and it gets really fun. Another one, I don't know if you guys have done this one before, but take your piece of paper and fold it in thirds. The like this. So short side. Don't have to make it too, I'm going to make it sort of a zigzag. I think that's right. Three roughly equal pieces. So it's kind of a Z shape, I guess. And then hold it so that your top flap is towards you. You have one flap towards you. And then what you do is draw on that first, so these are 3 panels. These are 3 panels. And let me think if I'm doing this right. And now this bottom panel, here, we're going to do this in steps. So you so open it flat, and in the top panel, you're going to draw a head. And for the neck, you're going to put 2 lines down just a little bit into the next panel for the neck. Okay.
Mhm.
So it could look kind of like this. You're doing a head, and then you continue your lines down for the neck a little bit. Now, if you're in a group in person, you have everybody hand their page to somebody else. And the next person, actually, before you hand it, you turn that top panel back so the next person can't see anything except those 2 lines. Okay. And then second person draws a body, a torso. And then they continue the lines for the legs onto the third panel. And then fold it back so the third person only sees the third panel, and they draw the feet. Okay. So then when you open it up, you get some completely ridiculous character. And that one's a lot of fun. And then if you want to really stretch people's imaginations, you have the next person name the thing or create some kind of phrase, description, something that connects this creation to the theme for the day. It can be a big stretch, but it's fun to see what people come up with that. Some aspect of the thing, it could be the activity itself. You can take it any number of directions. So that's a fun group drawing one. And okay, last category, I'm going to give us 2 more minutes, and then I guess there'll be 5 minutes at the end, right? So here's the problem solving. Problem solving, present a problem or challenge with many solutions. On your paper, draw yourself an 8, kind of like this. Draw yourself a number 8. And there are up to, okay, what's half of 8? 4. Okay, that's one answer. There are 6 more answers. See if you can come up with one. What's half of 8? See, 0, 3, correct?
2.
2. Tell me how 2.
Well, it's a fourth of 8. Be it 2.
An S, yep, and a backwards S.
Mm.
An
2S.
E. I'll give you a hint. What happens if you put the 8 on its side?
Infinity.
Can be infinity, yep.
MW.
M and W, exactly. So you guys came up with more than what I had. So awesome. So in case anybody wants the visual there, you can imagine slicing the 8.5 in various ways. So so there we go. There's a fun creative problem solving one. Are there any more questions or conversation, or should I do one more quick one? What do you think, Brian? Run right up to the.
You can go a little later if you want, but yeah, I think do another one. If
Another
that's-
one? All right. These are the fun ones, right? All right, here's a martini glass. I'm gonna draw it out so you guys can see. Oops. Not a perfect drawing, but pretend my lines are meet at the corner. Okay. So this is not football. This is a martini glass, and this is an olive in the martini glass. So imagine that you can move 2 lines and the olive will end up outside the glass. What's the solution? You can move only 2 lines and make the olive end up outside the glass.
Seems like you could move only one line and the olive could be outside the glass.
If you remove one, oh, except you have to move 2. It's a good point, but you have to move 2. I'm sorry, I got to put it down for a second so I can draw the solution.
Are there limits to how you can move them?
Nope. You ready for the answer?
Yes, please.
So you move.
So you move them, but they have
oops.
to stay connected at the corners.
Right.
Because otherwise, couldn't you
True.
just move the line off the page or?
Mhm.
Well, you can't break the martini glass. I know it's a little abstract, but so this is a
Okay.
martini glass.
Yeah.
So you can't break the glass, but you can move this line over to here and this line over down here. And then it becomes this. Oops. Follow me? So this this line up here becomes the side of the glass, or was the side of the glass. And one of these lines, maybe I'm doing that. Yeah. Did I screw that up? All right, maybe I have to work. I should go back to my reference there. All right, I'll tell you what, this is from a book called How to Motivate Audiences. If you want the real answer, we can find it. There it is. Okay. Maybe I didn't draw it perfect. It's pretty light there. Well, I'll leave you with wrestling with that one. How about that?
Wait, Brian's trying to do it hand.
Yeah, there we go.
I need this with like matchsticks or something.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's like one of those matchstick ones.
Here.
Oh, yes, there we go. Yeah, unfortunately, you'd have to break one of those in half. So
One.
because it's like half of a line that and then a whole line that goes up.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So
Something
is
like that,
it maybe
I
it
believe.
is it like that
Then move the other guy over.
and then like that?
And then yes, there we go.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's it.
Let me do it again.
That's it.
Okay, so
Yes.
here, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. All right, so we're here.
Uh-huh.
And then you slide this one over halfway and then move that one over there. Is that it?
Bingo.
Holy cow, that's hard.
It's a brain teaser. All right, I got one more quick one. You up for it?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody know their Roman numerals?
Kind of.
What's this one?
9.
9. Change it to a 6 with one line.
Can it be a curvy line?
It can. You know it, don't you?
I think I guessed it.
I won't torture us. There we go. That's a teaser. All right, that's what I got for today.
That's awesome.
So that's a handful. I hope those are fun and inspiring. And I guess yes, and thank you. That's the how to get a hold of me in various ways, shapes, and forms. And what else? And I hope that next time you get to do an Energizer, that I hope this gives you ideas for how to make it focused and make it count.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me tonight.
Let's give Sheri a big Nova Scribes thank you. Woo!
Woo, thank
Great.
you.
Thank you very much.
You're so welcome.